Today we're learning about the different types of clouds. There are different types of clouds depending on what level in the sky they are. The first type we'll be looking at are low-level clouds. Stratus clouds are low-level clouds that have a grayish color. When you see these, you'll notice that they are almost covering the entire sky. Do you know what fog looks like? Sometimes that's how stratus clouds appear, only they don't touch the ground. Usually you won't see any rain falling from these types of clouds. When it's foggy and the fog lifts into the sky, the results are stratus clouds. Another low-level cloud is the nimbostratus cloud. They are a dark gray color and a lot of the time appear to be wet. When these clouds are formed, it usually creates light rain or snow that is continuous until the clouds go away. Now we're going to begin to look at the middle-level clouds. This next type of cloud is called the altocumulus cloud. These are made up of a bunch of little water droplets, which gives them a light grayish look. They'll appear in the sky in parallel waves, which means you will see them in long lines across the sky. When you see these types of clouds on a warm, humid day in the summer, it may mean that a storm will be coming later that night. Another middle-level cloud is the altostratus cloud. They have a mixture of colors including blue and gray. They are formed by ice crystals and water droplets. For the most part, they take up the whole sky, but when there are thin spots in the clouds, you can see the sun's rays pouring through them. These clouds also form a head of small storms that will have a light, continuous fall of snow or rain. Cirrus clouds are high-level clouds that are thin and wispy in appearance. Sometimes they look like little pieces of cotton candy floating in the sky. They are blown into streams by high winds in the air and usually are moving from east to west. Cirrus clouds generally appear in good and pleasant weather. Next, we're going to look at cumulus clouds. These clouds are categorized as clouds that develop vertically. The base is usually a straight line that can sit as low as 330 feet above the ground. That's lower than one of the roller coasters at Cedar Point. These clouds grow upward and may later develop into a thunderstorm cloud. Cumulonimbus clouds are the thunderstorm clouds that form from cumulus clouds. These are formed when cumulus clouds continue to grow bigger and bigger. The bases may even sit as low as 300 feet from the ground, and they become a very dark gray color. Lightning, thunder, and even tornadoes can form from these clouds. Now it's time to move on to math. Today we're going to learn about adding numbers together and subtracting numbers from each other. Make sure everyone pays attention closely as we learn how to do this. Okay, first thing I want everyone to do is count the number of red stars on the screen. How many red stars do you see? Right, 3. Now make sure to remember that number. The next thing I want you to do is count the number of blue stars. There are 2 blue stars. To get the answer to this question, 3 red stars plus 2 blue stars, you have to add all of the stars that you see on the screen. Here, let's count them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 stars altogether. This means that 3 red stars plus 2 blue stars equals 5 stars. Next, we have to write something down on our papers, right? We need to write down this equation that we just did together. The first step is to write down the number of red stars. Do you remember how many there were? Right, 3. So everyone write down the number 3 on your paper. Now we need to add the blue stars. Before we write how many blue stars there were, we need to write down a plus sign to show that we are going to add these numbers together. Everyone write down a plus sign right next to the number 3 you just wrote. Good. Now who remembers how many blue stars there were? Right, 2. So everyone write down the number 2 right after the plus sign. Our last steps are to write down the answer to this equation. Before we write down the total number of stars, we need to draw an equal sign after the number 2. You always write your answer after the equal sign. The total number of stars on the screen was 5, right? So we write the number 5 after the equal sign. You guys just wrote your first equation. 3 plus 2 equals 5. Now let's do another problem. How many trees do you see in this first group? Right, 5. Everyone write down the number 5 on the next line of your paper. Now before we count the next group of trees, what do you need to write next to the number 5 that will show you're about to add a number? Good, a plus sign. Now let's count this side of the trees. How many do you see? Right, 1. This means you need to write a 1 next to your plus sign. Now it's time to count the total number of trees together. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many total trees are there? Right, 6. Now who can tell me what we need to write before we write the number 6 on our papers? Good, an equal sign needs to go right after the number 1. Then we write our answer 6 after the equal sign. Great job with adding, everyone. Now we're going to learn a new concept. This concept is called subtraction. Instead of taking two numbers and adding them together, we are going to take one amount from another amount. The first step is to count the number of cows in the first group. There are 3 cows. Now this is where the steps are different. Instead of adding more cows, we're going to take 1 cow away. Notice the second picture of cows. How many cows are left once we take 1 away? Let's count together. 1, 2. We crossed out the last cow because we are subtracting 1. Now there are only 2 cows left. Now let's write down this equation. You always start by writing down the number you begin with. Who remembers how many cows we started with? Right, 3. Everyone write down the number 3 first thing on your paper. Next we need to show that we are taking away from the number 3. So everyone needs to draw a minus sign next to the 3. Now, who remembers how many cows were being taken away from 3? Right, 1. So everyone write a number 1 after the minus sign. The last step is to write down the answer. But before we do that, what symbol do we need to draw? An equal sign. After the equal sign, you put your answer, which is 2. Your paper should now say 3 minus 1 equals 2. Good job, everyone. Now let's do one more subtraction problem to finish up the lesson. Who can tell me how many smiley faces are in the first group? Right, 5. Good. Now we are going to take 2 smiley faces away from the 5. Can everyone write down the equation so far? Start with the first number, 5. Then write a minus sign. After the minus, write down how many smiley faces are being taken away, which is how many? Good, 2. After the 2, everyone can write down an equal sign to get ready to write your answer. How many smileys do we have left after we take 2 away from 5? Let's count together. 1, 2, 3. The answer to 5 smileys minus 2 smileys equals 3 smileys. Don't forget to write the answer 3 down on your paper. Great job with adding and subtracting today, class.